through college. Donald Trump has brought ignominy to the Trump family and to the country.
Humiliation. Ooh, disrespect. That's what I'm talking about, Harry Sutherland. Using your frat brother, Phi Beta Sigma, Jane Brown, how the mofo nut, word of the day. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Man, this show got so much in it. And if you really want to hear what we were saying and some of our clunkers and some of our hits out the park, and while we're talking about two Viagra's, Harry Sutherland, get the Word According to Show, the podcast of the Cheryl Underwood Radio, so you can take Cheryl Underwood Radio with you wherever you go. That's the end of this show. I ask that you go out and be a blessing. God bless you. We'll holler at you tomorrow if the Lord say the same. If he does not, it's your last day on earth. We hope that when you see the master, he says, servant, well done, because of the life you've lived, the work you've done.
Broadcasting from the First National Bank Tower, this is KLEKLP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council.
Jonesboro's community radio station. Your life, your music. KLEK 102.5 FM.
Good Monday morning, Jonesboro. This is meteorologist Tim Root with your KLEK 102.5 forecast. Mostly sunny skies and the low 90s today, an east wind 5 to 10. Mostly clear skies overnight, temperatures by morning near 70. Dry weather, sunny weather in the low 90s for Tuesday. A weather front coming in Wednesday and some moisture coming up from the south. That'll give us showers and thunderstorms Wednesday into Thursday with temperatures around 90. Your life, your music, we're KLEK 102.5 FM.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. France has suffered another post-lockdown record high in coronavirus infections with nearly 5,000 new cases in the last 24 hours. President Trump's announced emergency authorization for the use of convalescent plasma to treat COVID-19. South Korean health authorities say the country's on the brink of a nationwide COVID-19 pandemic, and Brenton Tarrant had plans to target a third mosque in New Zealand in 2019, his sentencing hearing has heard.
It's 9:01.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
KLEK 102.5 FM, good morning to you on your Monday. It's August 24th, 2020. This is Community Conversations. Get Wonders in the studio with you, and I have Kabila Jones on the phone with us, host of Community Conversations. And joining us in the studio today is April Leggett, candidate for Jonesboro City Clerk. And, of course, as always, got to give the disclaimer. KLEK and the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, we do not endorse, support, nor oppose any candidate for office. These interviews are provided for informational purposes only, but we definitely do encourage you to exercise your right to vote. Get registered to vote. October 3rd is the last day to register to vote. Election day is November 3rd. If you are voting by absentee ballot, the last day to send that in is October 27th, but do not wait because you know the mail is running slow. Go ahead and just drop that ballot off at the clerk's office or mail it in as soon as possible so that your vote can be counted. But April, we definitely want to welcome you to the studio today. So as always, we're just going to start off with talking about yourself and your background, and after that, I'm going to let Kwabila ask you a couple questions.
Okay. Well, my name, I hope you can hear me. Okay. I'm a soft-spoken person, so coming through on the microphone seems a little off. But my name is April Leggett. I am a native of Jonesboro. I've lived most of my life here. Grew up in the Jonesboro public school system. I went through Hillcrest and middle school at MacArthur, junior high at Annie Camp, and graduated from Jonesboro High School. I also went to Arkansas State University and got my bachelor's degree in business administration. And then I went back 10 years later and got my master's in education, in business technology education. I had planned on one point at teaching, which is kind of strange because it happened to be that my husband went into teaching instead of me. And my husband and I have been married for, let's see, almost 22 years. I met him through work. While I was in college, I worked for Walmart, and so did he. And we met that way and blossomed our romance blossomed. He got a degree in graphic design, and he used to design billboards for, I believe it was Duke Company, and they sold out to Lamar, and Lamar moved a lot of their operations to Memphis, and he had lost his job. And we found another job that was very similar, but not new age. He started doing website design, and then a couple of years later, we decided that, teaching, I was going into the teaching field. He thought he might be interested in teaching, and he's actually the one who ended up teaching and not me. And I went on through my public service work through the government. I worked through district court. I worked through ASU. I worked through the Jonesboro Housing Authority. I worked through the city of Jonesboro. So I've got a lot of different backgrounds, but mostly in the government sector. We have 2 children. I pray for them today. One is not in school, that's staggered school. My son won't actually start until Wednesday, but my husband started today, my daughter started today, and then she'll have a couple of days off and then go back. So it's a staggered schedule all week.
All right, so definitely got a great background there. Kubila, did you have a question?
Well, I wanted to ask, first, like we ask most candidates, what made you decide to run for this particular position, and what part of your background education do you feel would lend you to be qualified for this position?
I started working for the Office of City Clerk in 2016. I started as an office manager, and then a position opened up where we had someone who was leaving. I was promoted to Deputy City Clerk in 2017, and I've enjoyed working in that office and doing that job. And my boss had mentioned at one point that she had considered retirement and would I consider running, and I said yes, and which was surprising because I've never been in politics. This is my first time to run for an office. If you know me, I'm a very quiet, somewhat shy person, but that doesn't prevent me from getting the job done.
You sound like me. Introverts rule over here.
Yes, we do. We do a lot of work behind the scenes. I will say that it was a little intimidating for the first time to get behind the camera for a city council meeting, but you learn to adjust to that, and you learn that what to focus on. You have on a typical meeting, you would have 8 people on one side and 6 people on the other, and you have the public out in front of you, and so you have to learn voices very well, who is speaking and what they are saying. And then comes 2020, and you've added in this pandemic and COVID, and you've got to adjust to meeting inline and meeting in person and online. That's been an adjustment. We've had some technical difficulties, but we've worked through them. We try the best that we can do to be as transparent as possible. I love my job. I think we have a wonderful people that work in the city, that work very hard for our city.
All right. So we got a couple questions from our Facebook Live feedback where we are speaking with April Leggett, candidate for Jonesboro City Clerk. Patty Cheney-Lack says, can you ask April why she is the individual to put over this important position for the city? And we've already asked her why she's running. So why do you feel, actually we were going to ask this toward the end, but since she went on jump the gun, we'll go ahead and ask it now. Why do you feel you should be the one chosen to be the next clerk?
I would say that I have the experience working in the office. I know where to go, what to do. And like I said, we do a lot of things behind the scene. We're not necessarily in front of the camera, out in meetings. there's just a lot of paperwork, a lot of laws, resolutions, ordinances, abandonments, a lot of things that we have to take care of behind the scenes. And we all work together. We're a team. The whole city is a team. We only have 3 people in our office, but throughout our building, throughout the city, I believe there's over 500, maybe close to 600 employees. We work together. We work to make the city a better place, because this is where we live and work and play, and we want a future that is bright for our kids and for everyone else.
All right. Donna, Matt Purier says, other candidates for this position believe in term limits. How do you feel about this?
I know that term limits can be helpful in certain positions, but as far as city clerk goes, we do not have a vote on the city council. We are there to be neutral and to take a correct, accurate record for history, for public. The city has invested in me. They have given me training and helped me along, and I don't see that term limits in this position are necessarily a viable option. You want someone who has experience and who can go in and help the people and help the officials, help the council, help the mayor, help whoever it is have a smooth and seamless transition.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about your experience. So for those who may understand, let's walk us through your typical day from the moment you go into work to the moment you get off. Because you mentioned about the behind the scenes, but a lot of people may not know what exactly that behind the scenes entails. So just kind of walk us through that.
We do get a lot of calls that are not necessarily related to the city clerk's office, and we will help people find the answers that they're seeking. A lot of them need a county office. A typical day, it just depends on the day. Like on Mondays, we start with a department head meeting, and I'm not a department head, but I still attend, so we know what all is going on in the city. We'll go back. I have minutes to work on from the previous week, and that takes a long time to make sure that you are getting everything that is said accurately, not adding more, not adding any kind of opinion that is yours. You are putting the words that the people, that the council put out, not your words.
Okay, and what are some of the other duties of the clerk? I know obviously they put out about the meetings, but what's some of the other things the city clerk actually does?
Tuesdays are generally pretty busy days. We have meetings almost every Tuesday. I would say every Tuesday except maybe twice a year we have meetings. We'll put out the agendas and we'll get ready for a city council meeting, or we typically have a committee meeting ahead of the city council meeting. So we have the agendas for those as well. And we'll go to those meetings, take notes, take the votes, know what is happening there. That next day, on that Wednesday, I'll come in. We use Legistar software. I'll take that video from that meeting. I'll trim it to take off the beginning because I started a little bit sooner in case something happens where one computer has a different timestamp than the computer that I'm using, and that's happened. It doesn't happen a lot, but I usually start at 2 to 3 minutes before the actual meeting. So we'll trim that off and get it started where the actual meeting starts, and then I timestamp each individual item so people can go to each individual item and not have to search through that entire video. They can just click that link and it'll take them to that point in the video. We put in actions, whatever motion, second, whatever action was was put in there. We do that, and then we have to transfer it from our media manager software over into Legistar. And then you get into the more paperwork. I was watching you this morning with your computers and changing different things, and I do a lot of computer work, a lot of paperwork. Usually by Wednesday afternoon, I have the paperwork ready for the mayor and the city clerk to sign. The mayor has I believe, until 2 weeks to get it signed, but we try to get it signed as soon as possible. And if it's an ordinance, if an ordinance that was passed on the third reading, I make sure that it's sent to the newspaper for publication. Ordinances don't go into effect for 30 days after they're passed. Resolutions go into effect immediately. Now, I will say on ordinances, if they have an emergency clause, they'll go into effect immediately if that emergency clause was voted on and approved.
Okay. We got another question from Facebook. Donna Matt Purier says, with the new mayor coming in, the city clerk position could change as far as job duties, etc. How do you feel you could adjust to any potential changes?
Well, I think 2020 has proven that we can adjust and change to just about anything. We have to go with the flow and make sure that we can work together and get things running as smoothly as possible, so we're as transparent and clear to the public that we can be.
Okay, and Patty Cheney Lack asks, it keeps everyone in line with rules, regulations, and policies, plus an asset to citizens to have questions. Can you ask April how she feels about that, and how confident is she knowing the rules, regulations, and policies?
Oh, well, I will say I am a definite rule follower. I like to keep people in line. I'm kind and compassionate, but I also feel like there's a set of rules and regulations, and you follow those rules and regulations. And I think if you'd ask my kids or my husband, they would say, yes, she's definitely that rule follower, and she will make sure that that is done. I'm not going to bend a rule or not do something that I'm not supposed to do. Our policies are set either by state law or by Jonesboro has a code of ordinances of how we're supposed to act and the duties that we are supposed to do.
Okay. All right, Kabila, you have a question? I know we've been kind of having the Facebook Live jumping.
No, I mean, they've actually asked a lot of the questions that I wanted to ask. I do want to let people know that the job duties of city clerks are located on jonesboro.org, the city's webpage, and you can also go look at other documents, meeting minutes, and things like that, decisions that have been made. That information is also under the city clerk tab. And so I want to just read this particular one, and this is outlined by the state, I guess, the Arkansas State Constitution. It says, stipulates that the city clerk shall have custody of all the laws and ordinances of the city and shall maintain a correct journal of the proceedings of the city council. So you pretty much went into that, discussing how you will, I guess, I won't say implement, but make sure everything is correct on the books. But can you just break that down a little more for people to understand being in control of all the laws?
Okay, well, we keep a paper copy. We also keep it online. We have three code books in the vault, but we also use MuniCode, which does our codification of all of our ordinances. And it's, if you go to the City of Jonesboro, not Facebook page, but the City of Jonesboro website, which is jonesboro.org, and look for agendas and minutes or city clerk, you should be able to come to a place where you'll find MuniCode, which is the code of ordinances, which states how we're supposed to behave, what our duties are, what our laws are regarding certain instances. We use Legistar, and it's legistar.jonesboro.com. So if people are needing something right away, that maybe it's at night, that they're looking at something, that they can go to that, and they can look under the legislation page and do a search for the information that they're needing. They're also welcome to contact us. We respond by phone, email, or in person. We have an FOI law in Arkansas that is pretty strict. I believe it's 3 days that they have to respond, but it's never taken me 3 days to respond. I actually had someone this year who said, "Wow, you're really quick. Have you ever decided that you may want to run for mayor?" And I'm like, I'm sorry, but no, the mayor's not the position for me, and I know that in my heart. I know the city clerk's position. I am comfortable with it. I know what to do. I have been working in it. I have gotten certifications through the International Institute of Municipal Clerks and the Arkansas City Clerks, Recorders, and Treasurers Association. I've worked really hard, and I will continue to work hard, and I think training is an important issue to keep up to date so your citizens know.
All right. Donna has a quick question. We got about a minute and a half, so I'm going to go ahead and ask. I think you can probably knock it out before we go to break. She says, I have noticed that you have been the one at most meetings lately instead of Donna Jackson. Will you be attending all meetings if elected, or will you pass it on to your deputy as well?
No, I will be there for every meeting that I can be. Obviously, there are things that came up, such as sicknesses or illnesses or deaths in your family. There are certain instances where you may not be able to, but the clerk will be trained to be able to take over if need be. During this year, the issue with the COVID and having someone with that's in an older age category, it was safer for me to be out with the public than with her.
All right. And with that, we're going to get ready to go to a break. We're speaking with April Leggett, candidate for Jonesboro City Clerk. And you can leave your questions and your comments on our Facebook Live feed. Just go on Facebook, type in KLK 102.5 FM, watch the video, and leave your questions and your comments. We're going to get ready to go to a break, but we will be back with more Community Conversations on KLK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
When the unexpected occurs, are you quick to lose your cool? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. Before the game starts, you run to the grocery store to grab a couple of things. Just as you walk out of the store and pack your groceries into the trunk, your wife calls to say she needs one more thing. It's an unexpected moment. You have a decision to make. Keep your cool or lose it. We've all experienced something like that. So when things don't go the way you thought, here are 5 ways to keep your cool. First, be quick to listen. Try to understand how the other person is feeling in the situation. Second, be slow to speak. Instead of venting your frustrations right away, choose your words wisely. Remember, your family first.
Want to connect with Mark on Facebook? You can at facebook.com/Mark Merrill.
Made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a non-profit organization committed to service to all mankind. Kappa Nu Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha on Facebook.
Brought to you by the Jonesboro Alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, dedicated to the purpose of achievement. Jonesboro Alumni at gmail.com. Jonesboro AR Alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity on Facebook, and Jonesboro_Kappas on Instagram.
Support for KLEK is brought to you by...
Several years ago, we had a customer take a calf to the processing plant. The owner of the plant always got up very early, our customer got a phone call at 4 o'clock in the morning, and the owner asked him, how much of this beef do you want in hamburger? Millennial, not an early rider, said, Eugene, I was laying here just thinking about that. Glenn sang, God bless our troops.
KLEK thanks the staff of Life Strategies Counseling Incorporated for helping people through hard times in life such as depression, family issues, stress, abuse, and more. They offer counseling and therapy for all ages, individuals, families, and groups. They are located at 1217 Stone Street. Phone number 1-866-972-1268 or online at lscihelp.com.
Arkansas Early Learning is accepting applications right now for childcare. We have locations all across Northeast Arkansas. Applications at arearlylearning.org. That's arearlylearning.org. Right here in the community at no cost. Arkansas Early Learning offering kids a head start.
Arkansas Early Learning is a nonprofit organization.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM with our guest, April Leggett, candidate for City Clerk of Jonesboro. And we had a question that came in actually on our business line. Our request line is actually tied up because Quabila is on the phone joining us. But the question was, and I believe the gentleman's name, if I can go back, Kerry Baker, wanted to know, how long have you lived in the city limits of Jonesboro?
I have lived in the city limits of Jonesboro basically my entire life.
Okay, and now I have a question for you. So one of the things that I typically hear about in response to the committee and the council means, more specifically the committee means, that they're held at times in which people are still at work and people who may want to attend to speak either for or against, depending whatever is on the agenda, can't attend. So if you are elected clerk, is there anything that you can do about that?
Well, most certainly we can have discussions. All of our rules go through our nominating rules committee. We have several committees that meet, but there is a special meeting that they can call at any time. Suggestions can be offered to them, to the council. They're the ones who actually make that decision. I will say that it tends to be a difficult time to work around, and I understand that, because there are people that have either kids with sports or other programs, or they have church. Tuesday nights tend to be the best nights. If we ever have to put a meeting off, it's usually on Thursdays. They try to put the meetings as close to 5 or a little after 5. Now, I know my boss has been in this position for 29 years, and back when she first started, they would have meetings until midnight, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning to accommodate individuals. But we also have changed a lot since that time, and we have people who work around the clock, and they may not be able to be there at a certain time. If it's something that's really important to you, you may want to see if you can use your vacation time or time off that you can come and speak to the council, or you can get someone to speak for you. I know I've dealt with that. I've had to adjust my scheduling, so I've missed things that with my kids, so I could be with council to take care of the business that needed to be taken care of, and I realize that happens. They just have to be adjustable for, and you can't make everyone happy all the time, but you try to make the most people the most happy the most of the time.
All right, Patty Cheney-Lack says, my last question to April, can you start on day one with our new mayor, whoever that may be, without any or little training or assistance?
Yes, that's not an issue at all. I've been working with doing meetings since I started in 2016. I've done meetings off and on out in the council chambers starting in 2017 or 2018. We do about, let's see, I think I looked it up. There were 99 meetings in 2016, 99 in 17, 76 or 86, and this is a year, and in 2018. There have been less this year because of COVID, and trying to work with everyone and apply with CDC guidelines on who can be there at what, and using Zoom and electronic avenues to get everything to the public.
All right, Kubila?
Okay, yes. I was looking through some more of the job duties, but I do have just one question before I go through. I'll read another one. As it was mentioned that the previous person, that Ms. Donna, who's been in this position for quite some time, and yes, it is an elected position, where you mentioned how you go through so much training and how much is invested into the person in this position. Do you ever foresee this position being an appointed versus an elected position? Or is that even viable? Is that even possible?
That is possible. We have over 500 cities or towns within the state of Arkansas. There are different types. There are city clerks, city recorders, city treasurers. There's a combination of city clerk and treasurer, recorder and treasurer. Some are appointed, some are elected. You get a fine line between this position should be neutral, and you don't want it per se under the direct guideline of one elected official saying, well, you have to do it this way and no other way. You want to be able to be neutral so you can help all sides involved.
Okay. All right, so another item that's listed on the duties of clerk, it says, executes the purchase, lease, and sale of property in conjunction with the mayor when authorized by resolution by majority vote of the city council. Can you break that down, please?
The city will purchase property. I've noticed some in the past have been for flood mitigation or for the properties that they've bought for the Veterans Village. I have not personally gone to any closings, but it's basically they'll walk you through the steps through that, just like you do if you've bought your own home. You'll go to a closing title company, and they've handled that paperwork, and you'll sign along with the mayor.
Okay, Kubila?
Okay. Well, in some of these, I think you mentioned, Arkansas City Clerks and Recorders are granted the authority to administer oaths of office with the passage of Act 138 in 2017. That was pretty much self-explanatory. So when new people are elected or appointed to their positions, you would oversee, if you are elected, reading them their oaths.
Yes, that was a new thing that they've done recently, that you can give the oath of office to people who have been elected or appointed by the governor in a position. One or two that I know of, the fire chief was appointed to a commission for the Fire Association, and Donna gave the oath of office to him. I know that she also gave an oath of office to council member L.J. Bryant, and I can't remember what it was for, but yes, they have the authority to do that now.
Okay. Another portion under one of the duties that I didn't read is the city clerk receives, files, and retains the code of ethics and financial disclosure statements from appointed municipal commissioners and elected officials, including the mayor, alderman, clerk, treasurer, city attorney, and the municipal judge. So can you please explain that one a little more?
Yes, we are charged with, at the beginning of the year, I'll send out a letter or the city clerk will send out a letter with a copy of the statement of financial interest that comes from the Ethics Commission. And when we send those out, they have usually till the end of that month, which is the end of January, to return those. I have city council, the mayor, city attorney, city clerk. I have commissioners such as the airport commission, city water and light board, let's see, metropolitan area planning commission. They all return those to us, and we keep them on file. And since I've worked there in 2016, I've only had the ethics commission come in once, and I'm not sure if that was someone had made a complaint and they came in and audited our files to look to see who all had actually returned those, because the city clerk doesn't have the authority to say, hey, look, you didn't do this, you're going to get a fine. That is handled through the ethics commission.
All right, we got a question from our Facebook Live. It comes from Donna Matt Purier. She says, would you keep the same staff if elected?
I would love to keep the same staff if elected. I know that that's an issue that can come about with elected positions, that some people do not keep the staff, or they may keep certain positions, especially if someone has ran as your opposition. They may not keep you, they may let you go. That has happened in the past of some government within our, I'm not going to say within the city, but within the county. I know that has happened.
Kubila?
Okay. I know it's hard to say what you can and will do, what will be able to do, even because you're not in the position just yet. But day one, if you are elected, what are some things that you would like to do? Do you currently have a plan? Because I think you're now serving as deputy, so do you have any type of potential plan in place of things you would like to implement if you are elected? And I do understand no one can go in with guns blazing, just make a whole bunch of changes, but from your position, what things you would like to do, and are you working on a plan?
Yes, we are, or I am. I'm currently in talks with our software company that we currently use to find grant funding to initiate some electronic voting systems that will help with our council, with part of them being on Zoom and part of them being in chambers, that will help it be more transparent to the citizens, where they can see that and not just hear a yay or nay. However, I will say that Arkansas law states that the city council meetings have to be audio recorded. So we will still have that audio recording, but we go further beyond that, and we want to be able to, for people to see that, because sometimes it's hard to actually pick up on what someone has said, especially if you have several people speaking at one time.
Kubila?
Okay.
Oh.
Yes, I'm here, sir. So aside from the software, what about, we've heard from other people before in previous discussions, not this election cycle, but as far as making changes, I don't want to say not cutting the budget, being more cost effective when it comes to supplies and just other ways of doing things within the office. Have you looked at that?
Right. No, we, in the city clerk's office, we are not the treasurer. That falls under the finance director. The city clerk does have a budget. We have a relatively small budget. I tried very hard to only buy supplies that we absolutely need. And I think this year especially has been a testament to every department within the city, that they have tried their best to say, if I don't absolutely have to have this right now, it's going to wait. Like I said, we don't have a very large budget. This past year I asked for 3 filing cabinets. And our filing cabinets are not cheap. When I think cheap, to me, it's like $100, but they're typically over $1,000. And with something over $1,000, I have to have 3 bids on. And that's $3,000, $4,000 for 3 cabinets. And then aside from office supplies such as copy paper and things like that, our software is our biggest expense besides salaries.
Okay. You mentioned bids, and that had me thinking in another direction. When it comes to attending city council meetings and something comes up, maybe a project for the city, different parts of the city, or even different communities, what role do you play in, I guess, helping to make a decision, or do you play any role? Let me ask that. Do you play any role in the discussions with the city council when it comes to the contractors or anyone who wants to provide a service to the city of Jonesboro?
No, we do not. That is a city council decision. What we are there to do is to take a record of their actions. We don't play any role in bidding. That goes through our finance department as well. Engineering has a lot of things that they bid projects out on, like the shooting range and the restrooms that have recently come in. Things like that they have to bid out.
Okay. All right, so for those that may not know, those that may have joined a little bit later, can you just recap some of your duties that we may not have covered as city clerk, if you are elected?
The duties of city clerk, the most important duty is to be a bridge between the city council and the public, to take an accurate and complete record of what has happened with city council actions, to allow the public to have access to that. I do a lot of clerical work as well. I hate that people sometimes just associate it as it's just clerical. It's not. There's a whole lot involved in knowing what you can do and what you can say, and I want people to follow the rules, and I'm not taking a side for one or the other. It's to stay neutral, and they're to follow those rules, and those rules and guidelines are set forth either by Arkansas state law or by the ordinances that we have in our city.
Okay, we got a question from our Facebook. Donna Matt Purier says, I know other candidates are saying they won't accept a pay raise the first term if elected. How do you feel about that?
How I feel about a pay raise, it's kind of an iffy situation. I know with the current city clerk, Donna Jackson, that she started part-time back in the early to mid-90s, and it paid like $7,000 a year. And they've changed those duties and raised the salary to adjust for that. Now, they don't get an automatic salary increase every year, and maybe not even every several years. I do know that she's gotten a couple of raises throughout time, but it's not a guarantee. And they usually do the mayor, the city attorney, the council, and the city clerk at the same time if they're going to ask for a 1 or 2% raise.
So how much does the clerk make a year?
It depends. We have a salary schedule, and I think I brought it with me. And this is not actually our salary schedule. This is salary schedules for the state of Arkansas for population. Well, actually, this is 2018 salary survey schedule for cities with populations 10,000 and above. And it can range anywhere from 40,000 to, I think, 90, 100,000. It depends on the city, depends on what amount that the council has approved for that position.
All right. Speaking with April Leggett, candidate for Jonesboro City Clerk. And, of course, if you have any questions or comments for her, you can go on our Facebook Live and leave your questions and comments. Kabila, did you have a question? We got about a minute and a half before we go to break.
I'm just trying to think of things we haven't covered and what the public really needs to know, concerning this position and, what power, I don't want to say power, but...
Well, on the other side of the break, I'd like to talk more about how the citizens can directly interact with the clerk's office. We kind of talked about the behind the scenes, but we'll talk about the front of the office when we come back from our break. So don't go anywhere. This is Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
We're back with Money Matters. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. Regular Money Matters listeners know that you can't manage money effectively without a monthly spending plan, also known as a budget. But what would you do if your income were suddenly reduced by 10%? Job loss, furloughs, salary cuts, or disability can happen to any of us at any time, resulting in temporarily or permanently reduced incomes. You can't always prevent these circumstances, but you can and should plan for them. That's why now is a good time to build a hardship budget, or a couple of them. Just take your current household budget and decide what expenses you'd cut and how extra income could be generated if your current income was cut by 30%. You may never need them, but if you do, you'll be better prepared in the face of a financial crisis. Having a hardship budget can give you the kind of peace of mind that money can't buy. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. for Money Matters, a product of American Urban Radio Networks.
Made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, focused on joy in our sisterhood, power in our voice, and service in our hearts. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
Money Matters is brought to you by Bancorp South, offering checking, savings, loans, credit cards, and wealth management. www.bancorpsouth.com or 870-972-9800.
Money Matters is brought to you by the Guide Right Jonesboro Kappa League, a nonprofit organization that guides young men to a life of achievement. Kappa League Jonesboro on Facebook, Jonesboro_Kappa League on Instagram, and Jonesboro Kappa League at gmail.com.
KLEK thanks Charles and Candace Mabry and the staff of Mabry Smokehouse for their support of KLEK and dedication to the Jonesboro community. Mabry's offers Texas-style barbecue, beef brisket, pulled pork, ribs, rib tips, chicken wings, smoked sausage, barbecue fries and nachos, sides, and desserts. Located 1504 Red Wolf Boulevard, Jonesboro. Open 11 to 8 Tuesday through Thursday, Friday and Saturday. More info, Mabry's Smokehouse on Facebook.
The Office of Diversity and Community Engagement at Arkansas State University, under the leadership of Dr. Maurice Gibson, is a proud supporter of KLEK and is dedicated to finding innovative ways to advance their mission of creating a diverse and inclusive environment, conducive to educating, enhancing, and enriching lives, uplifting various and diverse groups on the A-State campus, and striving to maintain Arkansas State University a place that is inclusive to all individuals, regardless of origin, color, religion, socioeconomic status, or sexual orientation. More information about the Arkansas State University Office of Diversity and Community Engagement is available at www.astate.edu/diversity and 870-972-3081.
KLEK 102.5 FM salutes small businesses. Small businesses promote local character and success, keeping money in the local economy, local jobs, entrepreneurship, community well-being, and so much more. Contact us today to learn more on how your small business could be featured on KLEK for as little as $25 per month.
Shout out to Beautiful Bins, offering cleaning, sanitation, and deodorization of your stinky trash cans. Available via text or phone, 870-243-2933, or Beautiful Bins on Facebook.
Shout out to Letitia Fox Rochelle and Foxy's Fabulous Accessories, an independent paparazzi jewelry consultant. FoxySCanBe.com, Foxy's Fabulous Accessories on Facebook, or 870-761-4323.
Shout out to
Sonia Sanders Realtor, there for you, whether buying or selling a home. Listings and other information is available at soldinjonesboro.com. Sonia Sanders Realtor on Facebook, 870-275-8712.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM with our guest, April Leggett, candidate for City Clerk of Jonesboro. And got a couple Facebook comments I wanted to read. Shanquetta Cunningham says, whoever is in that position, especially for women, should not go in with the commitment to decrease salary when men do not typically have that mindset. And Donna responded saying, Shanquetta not say decrease. There's another candidate saying he would not accept a pay raise first term. Reason for my question. So, as we mentioned before we went to break, I want to talk a bit about the front end. You talked about behind the scenes, but if you are elected, what are some things you can do to increase access to the clerk's office? Because there are people who have questions and don't know where to go or where to get information, and even maybe perhaps streamlining and increasing the availability of information so that it kind of cuts down on any potential confusion.
They can contact our office at any time. We're open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and we stagger our lunches. So there should be someone there at all times unless we have someone that's absent. Our telephone number is 935-0305. They can also come into City Hall. If they come into the back of the building where the parking lot is and they're screened by someone at the door, our office is the first office to your left. If they have questions, we're more than willing to help them, and if we don't know the answer, we will I've done a lot of research. We will do more research. We will find out where we need to go and what we need to do to help you get what the answers that you're looking for. I'm excited about this. It's been in my heart to work with this and work with the people, and I just want everyone to understand that we're open and willing to have any kind of conversation that you're needing to have. I want people to be aware that, again, we are neutral. We don't make the decisions. We don't make the laws. We are there to take that record.
Alrighty. And Queen, did you have anything? Kabila, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still sorry. Head on mute. You actually asked my question, but
I'm just stealing all your thunder.
no. I just, want people to be aware of what this position entails, what your duties are and what your actual powers are. Because sometimes people have the tendency to think you can do more than you actually can. So we just want to make sure we cover all bases and let people know what's in the realm of actuality.
That is an excellent point, because even though it is an elected position, there's not a lot of per se power to do things. You, as an individual, yes, you have the power to help change things. I encourage people to get involved, to come to city council meetings. If you can't come, then we have it either on Channel 24 or Facebook or Legistar. We have those videos. You can watch them. You can contact us at any time. Stay involved. That is the most important thing I can suggest to the public.
All right. Kabila?
Okay. Going forward with city council, know people have stressed, or stated rather, they would like to see the meetings held at different times. But, I mean, from my observation, not a lot of people really come unless it's some big issue. So what possibly can be done, just from your point of view, to increase attendance and participation in city council meetings, to even consider a different time frame, a time for the meetings to be held?
It's hard to get involved in an issue unless it directly affects you. But that's why I encourage people to come or listen to get involved, because you never know where that might lead. And there are a lot of committee meetings that we have that there's very little to no attendance. And I would hope that the council and the clerk's office and the mayor's office could come together to have some public meetings that where it's just an input on what do you think as the public is a better meeting time that would better suit the public in general. But then again, you've got to realize that there are lots of different activities going on all around, and the best solution that they've had at this point is a Tuesday or Thursday, and as close to 5 o'clock as possible.
We do want to remind everyone that the meetings are recorded. They're either live streamed and recorded, and that the minutes and agenda are available on jonesboro.org. So there are still ways for residents to get involved and find out what's being discussed. And I do want to ask this. Is there an agenda posted before the meeting so people can know what's being discussed?
Yes, we do agendas almost every Thursday. There's only maybe 2 Thursdays of the year that we don't have agendas. The agenda process starts in that morning and ends at that afternoon, and usually between 4:30 and 5, that agenda will be out on the website, JonesboroLegistrar.com, or you can go to jonesboro.org and look under government, and it'll show meetings and agendas, and you can go and it'll take you to Legistar. But yes, they're out there before, except for maybe a special called meeting. Whomever calls that has to give the clerk's office 3 hours notice. So we get that together and that agenda done and send it out to the public, and they have a 2-hour notice.
All right, April, we got about 2 minutes. So as we get ready to wrap up, once again, tell the listeners and viewers why you feel you should be elected the next city clerk of Jonesboro.
I feel like I should be elected the next city clerk for the city of Jonesboro because I have the experience, the knowledge. I've been living and doing this work for the past several years. I am comfortable with change. I know that there are a lot of changes coming about. We can work together to make things better and more transparent and more clear. And I'm the gal for the job.
All right, and if anyone would like to get in contact with you, how can they get in touch with you?
Campaign-wise, they would have to do it through my personal Facebook page, April Leggett for City Clerk, or my email address is aprilleggett@yahoo.com. If it's city-related and not campaign-related, they can contact the city clerk's office at 935-0305, or my email address is, we like to use just cityclerk@jonesboro.org. That way it goes to all 3 of us in the office and you can get an answer more quickly.
All right, well, we definitely thank you, April, for stopping by the studio, and definitely wish you the best of luck in your campaign. Of course, as always, Kayla Ken, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. We do not endorse, support, or oppose any candidate for office. These interviews, are provided for informational purposes only. But again, we strongly encourage you to exercise your right to vote. You have until October 3rd to register to vote. And if you are concerned about COVID-19 or you have any other reason, you can request your absentee ballot. Those you can actually request that right now, and those are due by October 27th. But don't wait. Go ahead and drop that ballot off at the clerk's office or mail it back as soon as possible. You guys have a great and blessed day. This has been Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
Thank you for listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.